Today we have a really fun video, everything you need to know about putting. And I want to start this video by saying that putting isn't something that I mechanically teach to people. The number one issue that I see with putting is a confidence issue. I've seen so many great mechanical putters who have zero confidence and are scared of making the putt, and that's their failure. And then I've seen the opposite. I've had people who have the wackiest mechanical throw of a putt, but they're so overly confident that that's how they actually become like good putters. So the number one thing in putting, and this is just across the board, is that you're not trying to make the putt. I know that sounds crazy, but you're not. You're trying to confidently throw a putt. That is your job. And that kind of goes for like disc golf as like a whole. If you're trying to hit a gap, or you're trying to like make a layup, or you're trying to execute something, it's harder to do that and fear gets introduced more often. Instead, just try to do it confidently. And Sullivan Tipton actually told that to me. I caddied for him at Deaglo last year, and he missed a putt, and he like barely missed it. And he like shrugged it off, and I was like, dude, good putt. And he said, I threw it confidently. And then after the round, I was like, what do you mean by that? And he said, I'm never trying to make the putt. I'm always trying to confidently release the disc. And that has so much truth. And again, that goes throughout all of disc golf. So the number one thing, if you get anything from this video, is confidently putt. Literally, it can be the most false confidence. You have to tell yourself you're good at putting, but you have to release the disc with confidence. Again, the number one thing out of this video. The next thing I want to go over is actual practice. So as you can see here, I have 10 of the exact same putter here. They're all these stone sonars. I just got them from the Disc Golf Warehouse. Thank you, Wes, for hooking me up. But yeah, you want to have the exact same putter that you're putting with. And I got that actually from my mentor in disc golf, Kiefer. He had a stack of 10 discs and they were all the exact same. And I remember like practice putting with his, and I remember being like, wow, like I can feel a consistent release. And he said it's so important, make sure they're exactly all the same. And yeah, you have to have consistency when you practice, or else you're not going to have consistency out when you're playing. So make sure they're all the same exact putter. And then the next thing I like to talk about, and this is from Eagle McMahon, Eagle talks about practice making putts. So don't go to 50 feet and be airballing putts. Practice from like 20 to 25 feet and really dial in your makes. And when you do make it, you want it to be, pick that link or that chain or the envision and try to hit that consistently. Envision the putt before you even throw the putt. And then when you throw the putt, is it close to what you envisioned, or did it hit the link that you were trying to hit? And that's why I like to have, 10 of the same putts, is after I throw that first one, if I like pulled it slightly to the right, the next putt that I go to, now I'm making that correction. So very important. And again, 20 feet to 25 feet, that's like the money range. I'm at like 30 feet right now. And even like on my bad practice days, I try to bring that in to like 20 feet to build that confidence, and also, again, practice making putts. All right, now let's get to like the meat of the video here. So I'm going to go over mechanics. Again, I already said this earlier. You can have bad mechanics and still be really good at putting. I think that there's an overarching like kind of theme with mechanics that like you'll see a lot of the same consistencies with touring pros. They all have like good weight shift. They all have good release on their hand. And then they're all pretty much really overly confident when they go to the putting green. But like I said, mechanics come in so many different ways with putting versus like backhand. I feel like the backhand mechanics in our sport are pretty dialed. Like everybody on the pro tour is doing like the same 90%. And there's that little bit of give, a little bit of 10% that like people do slightly different. But with putting, I'm going to go over how I putt. I'm more of a spin putter than anything else. The reason why I actually was a push putter and I moved over to spin putting is so much more competitive on the pro tour. If you're out on a course that's super windy and you're trying to play a nose up, lofty down putt, nose down, lofty putt pushing down to the ground, wind is just going to bully the crap out of your putt. Versus if you watch now, most of the pros on tour are all spin putters, and it just fights wind better and you're much better from range. So I made that decision like, 3 years ago, that I was going to really try to incorporate more spin into my putt. And I'm going to go over that right now. So the first thing I do with my putt is I line up directly in line with my target. So I'm using the camera here, of course, as an example. But what I mean by directly in line is I want my momentum going from my back push foot straight towards my target. What I see a lot of people mess up on is this left to right push, or even the opposite. They start on this right side and they push into their left. When you have that awkward momentum going the wrong way, not directly at your target, what ends up happening is your arm has to autocorrect. So you get like a swing with your arm versus your arm being on one straight line. When it's not on that straight line, that's just inconsistent. So I always line up, I kind of square up pretty hard with the basket, and then I'm just straight in line. And I'm thinking too, push with this back leg, not really yanking into it. I'm just pushing to where all my momentum's in a straight line, and I'm allowing my arm to kind of go with it. So I'm guiding it with my momentum of my legs, and then my hand is what's doing the final release of it. The next thing I'm going to go over is the mechanics of kind of what my arm look like. So of course I'm pushing with my lower body, but I'm actually leading. It goes shoulder, then my elbow, and then my hand. It's one straight line. And the best way I can describe this is, imagine you have a rubber band right on your belt buckle. Imagine you're now pulling that rubber band straight at the basket. You're going to pull first with your shoulder, then your elbow, then your wrist into your hand. That's what I want to see, one straight line straight towards the basket. So momentum and then leading everything else into it. Versus if you're a push putter per se, you're going to actually have that arm very straight. And then as you go to release it, you're using the momentum of your arm to go forward, and then you're letting go of the disc. Versus in a spin putt, you're actually going to be engaging your fingers more, your elbow, and your shoulder more. I like push putts are good for keeping everything in one straight line. You're going to not, on a push putt, you're not going to see a lot of push putters miss left and right. They're going to miss low or high, and a lot of times it's low. It's very hard for a push putter to commit to the height of it, because you're going to see like a nose down putter. With spin putting, it's going to be the opposite. You're going to be a little bit higher on your putt, but you're going to miss a lot more left and right. The reason why is you have just a little bit more of these mechanical things going on. A little bit more of these joints are involved in that. So the biggest thing with spin putting, and this is actually putting in general, is I try to tell them, or tell everybody, miss one way. Don't miss it low and miss it left. Miss it left or right, but keep the height correct. I hate missing a low putt. If you miss a low putt, that means you didn't commit to it. You didn't give it a chance. If you miss it left off the pole, it could catch. If you miss it right off the pole, it could catch. So I like to tell people, miss it one way. And Paul Ulibarri talks about that too. He makes the basket skinnier. He's aiming for the right side, and then he's playing that hyzer swing in there. So he said that it feels like the basket actually gets a little bit bigger because he's aiming for the right side, but then he's swinging it in left. I love talking about counting your misses. Count the miss. So like make it to where you're missing one specific way so that you can kind of lean into that. So like for a hyzer putt, you can play right side all the way into the left, which is, that's what I actually really recommend, is putting with an overstable disc and playing that hyzer into it. And this is the most important part outside of being overly confident, is you have so much control with your fingertips. One of my favorite videos out there, and I haven't watched it in forever, is Dave Feldberg and Cam Todd, and they're talking about putting. And Dave Feldberg, being the person he is, he's going super in detail about the mechanical side of putting. He's talking about, the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, all of that being engaged. And then he hands it off to Cam Todd, and Cam Todd goes, I don't know, I just pop it in there. And you can see kind of like Dave get shocked for just a second, but Cam was 100% right. He was talking about engaging the fingers, engaging at the very last second. And Gannon talks about that too. He talks about how he's thinking about extending his hand and quickly opening his fingertips towards the basket. He's getting all of his spin and pop with his fingers. And in follow through, this also goes with your backhand, you can diagnose a lot of misses with the last second of your throw, where your follow through is at. So with putting, for example, if I open up my hand too much, what ends up happening when I break my wrist, I end up missing to the right. And then the opposite, if I under engage the hand, I usually miss low left. So a lot of times right before I putt, I really tell myself, commit to opening my fingers and really shaking hands with the basket. And when you over engage and really shoot your hand towards the basket, that's where you get that, as Cam Todd would talk about, that pop. So you pop it out towards the basket and get that carry. With a non-confident putter, what I see a lot is an inconsistency with their hand opening. Sometimes they won't open their hand at all and it will finish almost like the top of your hand to the sky, or they'll do the opposite. They'll overcommit and their wrist will be broken. So it's really important to stay disciplined with the ability that you have with your wrist, with really making sure that it is consistently opening, one, but then two, that it's opening into the basket. And I don't really putt with my pinky or my pointer finger. Everything is coming off of my ring finger and my middle finger. This is what I'm pushing with. I'm pushing and opening up my hand with these two fingers. And then my pinky and my pointer are just there more for like stability. All right, last thing I'm gonna go over really quick is you can have great mechanics. You can literally be super confident on the putting green, but if you're not gonna practice, it's really not going to amount to anything. I only practice 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week. That's only 2 hours of putting practice. And then of course, whatever I'm on the course, I'll also throw a couple extra putts here and there. But it's really important to really set some time aside for practicing your putt. And something I see a lot of people do too is they over practice. They'll putt for an hour or 2 hours. And when you over practice like that, I feel like your mechanics start changing throughout the practice. As you get tired, you start lofting it more, or you might have to throw some anhyzer on it. So I feel like that perfect level is 30 minutes, 4 times a week. That's going to give you plenty of reps. And yeah, guys, it's putting's, like I said, it's practice, confidence, and then a little bit of mechanics to make it easy. So thank you guys so much for watching the videos. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to get to 2K subscribers. That's hype, guys. I like that a lot. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys want to watch more tutorials, or even if you guys want to recommend a tutorial that I can go over, put it down in the comment section down below. Bye. I did that first take. Stace, literally yesterday, I spent like 30 minutes trying to make all 10 putts from 33 feet, and I just did it first take.